The Grand Hall of Concordia Prime stretched high above the gathered representatives. 47 species sat in their designated seats arranged in a perfect circle. The hall had witnessed 2,000 years of peace. Today, something felt different. Ambassador Chen of Earth sat quietly in the human section. Her dark suit was simple, her hair pulled back in a neat bun. She looked like a teacher, not a warrior. Around her, other human delegates reviewed their tablets, preparing for another routine session. They looked calm, almost bored. The Kralix delegation entered the hall. General Vexthor led them, his scales gleaming under the lights. He was tall, nearly 8 feet, with sharp claws and teeth that showed when he spoke. His people were warriors. They had conquered 12 worlds in the last 300 years. They were proud of their strength. The session began. The council chairman, a gentle creature from the Velen species, called for reports. Trade agreements were discussed. Border disputes were settled. Everything was peaceful, as it had been for 2 millennia. The humans spoke little, mostly listening and taking notes. Then General Vexthor stood. His chair scraped loudly against the floor. The sound echoed through the hall. Everyone turned to look at him. "I wish to address the council about the humans," he announced. His voice was rough, like stones grinding together. Ambassador Chen looked up from her tablet. She smiled politely and nodded for him to continue. "For too long, this council has allowed humanity to hold positions of power they no longer deserve," Vexthor continued. "They control trade routes. They mediate our disputes. They write our laws. But what are they now? Weak, soft, they have no military. They have no strength." Murmurs spread through the council. Some species shifted uncomfortably. The humans remained still, watching. "We have studied human history," Vexthor said. He activated a holographic display. Images appeared in the center of the hall. Ancient human wars, weapons, battles. "Your own records show you were once a warrior species. You conquered your home system quickly. You expanded across hundreds of worlds in just 2 centuries. But then you stopped. You became weak. You chose peace over power." Ambassador Chen continued to smile. She folded her hands on the desk in front of her. "You have forgotten how to fight," Vexthor declared. "You spend your days writing treaties and managing trade agreements. You have no armies, no warships, no warriors. You are bureaucrats now, nothing more." The Velen chairman spoke up. "General Vexthor, what is the purpose of this speech? We are here to discuss trade routes, not ancient history." "The purpose," Vexthor said, turning to face Chen directly, "is to explain why the Kralix Empire no longer recognizes human authority in this council. You have grown weak. Your time of leadership is over." Ambassador Chen stood slowly. She was much smaller than Vexthor, barely reaching his chest. She walked to the center of the hall, her footsteps quiet on the polished floor. "General," she said pleasantly. "May I ask you a question?" "Speak," Vexthor growled. "How many wars has the Kralix Empire fought in the last 300 years? 53, Vexthor said proudly. "We have never lost." "Impressive," Chen nodded. "And how many of those wars were against species with similar technology to yours?" Vexthor paused. "That is not relevant." "I think it is," Chen said. Her smile never wavered. "You have fought 53 wars against species that were weaker than you. You have conquered 12 worlds, all of them inhabited by people who had less advanced technology. You have never faced an equal opponent." The hall was silent now. Every eye was on the 2 figures in the center. "We are warriors," Vexthor said. "We do not fear combat." "Of course not," Chen agreed. "You are very good at being warriors. It is all your people have done for generations. Fighting is your culture, your identity, your purpose." She paused. "But General, has it ever occurred to you to wonder why humanity stopped fighting?" "Because you grew weak," Vexthor repeated. Chen shook her head gently. "No, we stopped because we got bored." Confused murmurs rippled through the council. Vexthor's scales shifted, showing his irritation. "Bored?" He spat the word like a curse. "Yes," Chen said simply. "War became too easy. There was no challenge anymore. So we made a choice. We decided to try something harder. We chose peace. We chose diplomacy. We chose to see if we could build something instead of destroying things." She walked closer to Vexthor, looking up at him. "You think we forgot how to fight," she said quietly. "You think 2,000 years of peace has made us soft. You think we have no warriors, no weapons, no strength." Her smile grew wider. "General, do you know what we call the last 2,000 years? What? Vexthor asked despite himself. The long rest, Chen said. We call it the long rest because we were tired. Tired of war? Tired of conquest. Tired of fighting. So we rested. We let other species catch up. We gave everyone else a chance to grow, to learn, to become strong. We waited to see if anyone would become interesting opponents. The hall had become completely quiet. No one moved. No one spoke. You are insane, Vexthor said, but his voice was quieter now, uncertain. Perhaps, Chen agreed. She walked back to her seat. General Vexthor, I believe you had more to say? Vexthor stood silent for a long moment. Then he straightened his spine and lifted his head high. The Kralix Empire, he announced, officially rejects human authority. We claim the trade routes currently controlled by Earth. We claim the resource rights humanity holds, and if humanity refuses to surrender these peacefully, we will take them by force. The council erupted in shocked voices. The chairman tried to restore order. Ambassadors from dozens of species began talking at once, and Ambassador Chen laughed. It was not a nervous laugh. It was not an angry laugh. It was genuine, warm, the kind of laugh someone makes when they hear a good joke. Other human delegates joined in, their laughter echoing through the hall. The council fell silent again, staring at the laughing humans in confusion and growing fear. Chen wiped tears from her eyes. Oh, General, she said, still chuckling. Thank you. We needed that. She stood again, composing herself. Very well. I request a 48-hour recess to consult with Earth before responding to your declaration. The chairman nodded quickly, eager to end the bizarre session. Granted. This council is adjourned for 48 hours. As the other species filed out, talking in worried whispers, the human delegation remained in their seats. They were still smiling, still laughing quietly among themselves. General Vexthor watched them from across the hall. For the first time in his long military career, he felt something unfamiliar in his chest. It might have been doubt. The 48 hours passed quickly. During that time, the Galactic Council was filled with rumors and speculation. Some species thought the humans would surrender. Others thought they would negotiate. A few worried about what might happen if humanity actually chose to fight. The Kralix Empire used the time to position their military. They moved 10,000 warships into formation near human space. Their generals prepared battle plans. Their soldiers sharpened their weapons and prepared for glory. General Vexthor addressed his fleet commanders. The humans have no military presence in Council space, he told them. They have no warships, no defense systems, no armies. They are diplomats and traders. This will be the easiest conquest in Kralix history. His commanders cheered. Victory seemed certain. When the council reconvened, the hall was packed. Every species had sent extra observers. News networks from across the galaxy broadcast the session live. Everyone wanted to see what humanity would do. Ambassador Chen entered the hall with her usual calm demeanor. She carried a small data pad and wore the same simple suit as before. She did not look worried. She did not look scared. She looked almost happy. The chairman called the session to order. Ambassador Chen, you requested time to consult with Earth. Are you prepared to respond to the Kralix Declaration? I am, Chen said. She stood and walked to the center of the hall. First, I would like to play a message from Earth's civilian government. A hologram appeared. An elderly woman in comfortable clothing sat in what looked like a garden. She smiled warmly at the camera. Hello, General Vexthor, the woman said. My name is Sarah Martinez. I am the current speaker of the Civilian Council of Earth. I have received your demands for surrender. After careful consideration and discussion with my fellow council members, I must politely decline. We will not be surrendering our trade routes, our resource rights, or our position in the Galactic Council. However, I want you to know that we hold no ill will toward the Kralix people. We hope this situation can be resolved peacefully. Thank you for your time, the hologram ended. The message had been simple, direct, and polite. It was also completely insane to every species watching. The humans had just refused to surrender to a military force 10,000 ships strong. Vexthor stood. Then you choose war. We choose to defend ourselves, Chen corrected gently. There is a difference. You have no military, Vexthor said. We have scanned your territories in council space. No warships, no defense platforms, no armies. How do you plan to defend anything? Chen smiled. General, may I tell you about the accord? What accord? Vexthor demanded. 2,000 years ago, when humanity first encountered other intelligent species, we made a discovery. We realized that we were much more aggressive than anyone else. Much more warlike. Much more advanced in military technology. We conquered half the known galaxy in just 200 years. Chen activated her datapad. A star map appeared, showing a vast section of the galaxy highlighted in blue. This was human territory at the height of the Great Expansion, she explained. 847 star systems. Thousands of colonies. Billions of humans living across hundreds of light years. The Council stared at the map in shock. That was more territory than the 5 largest empires combined. Then we met the Velen people, Chen continued, nodding to the chairman. They were kind, peaceful, intelligent. They welcomed us with open arms. And we realized something terrible. We were alone in our aggression. Every other species we met wanted peace, wanted cooperation, wanted friendship. She paused, looking around the hall. We realized that if we continued on our path, we would either conquer everyone or we would be forever alone. Neither option was appealing. So humanity made a choice. We created the Accord. The map changed. The blue territory shrank dramatically, down to just a small section of space. We withdrew from most of our conquered territory, Chen said. We gave independence to hundreds of worlds. We pulled our military back to a defensive perimeter around our home system. We voluntarily limited ourselves to prevent any other species from feeling threatened. You retreated, Vexthor said. You admitted defeat. No, Chen said firmly. We chose restraint. There is a difference, General. Defeat is when you are forced to stop. Restraint is when you choose to stop even though you could continue. She brought up a new map. This one showed a spherical region of space surrounding Earth's solar system. This is the perimeter, she said. 847 systems, all within this defensive sphere. We call it the perimeter because it marks the boundary of our active military presence. These systems were never abandoned, General. They were always occupied, always defended, always ready. Murmurs of confusion spread through the council. You are lying, Vexthor said. We have scanned that region of space. There is a warning buoy that tells ships to stay away, but nothing else. No ships, no weapons, nothing. Did you ever wonder, Chen asked him, why everyone obeys that warning buoy? In 2,000 years, has any species ever tried to enter the perimeter? Silence. The answer was obvious. No one had ever tried. The warning buoy does not threaten violence, Chen continued. It simply says, please do not enter this space. We prefer to be left alone, and everyone obeys. Do you know why? No one answered. Because deep down, every species in this council knows the truth. Humanity did not stop fighting because we lost. We stopped because we won. We won so completely, so thoroughly, that continuing seemed pointless. We are not bureaucrats who forgot how to fight, General. We are warriors who chose to rest. Chen looked directly at Vexthor. You asked how we plan to defend ourselves, she said quietly. The answer is simple. We will wake up. She turned to address the entire council. Within the perimeter, humanity has maintained our military capability, not because we planned to use it, but because we never wanted to lose the ability to defend ourselves if necessary. We have shipyards. We have training facilities. We have soldiers who practice warfare as a hobby, as a sport, as an art form. For 2,000 years, humans have been playing war games while the rest of you learned to live in peace. She brought up images of massive orbital structures, planetary facilities, fleets of ships in formation. These are our war worlds, Chen explained. Planets dedicated to military training and development. We have 12 of them. Every year, millions of humans participate in combat simulations, ship operations, and strategic exercises. They do it for fun, General. They compete. They keep score. They treat war like you might treat a sporting event. Vexthor stared at the images. The facilities were enormous, far larger than anything the Kralix Empire possessed. This is a trick, he said, but his voice lacked conviction. I wish it were, Chen said sadly. General Vexthor, the Kralix Empire has officially declared war on humanity. Very well, war is declared. The Accord is temporarily suspended. The defense perimeter is now active. She looked at him with something like pity. You have 1 week before we respond to your invasion, she said. 1 week to reconsider. 1 week to withdraw your forces and apologize. After that, we will defend our territory. And General, I want you to understand something very clearly. She stepped closer to him. We do not want to hurt you. We do not want to hurt anyone. That is why we have been so careful for so long. But you have forced our hand. You have demanded war, and humanity has never been good at saying no to war. Chen returned to her seat. May your gods have mercy on you, General Vexthor, she said quietly, because we have forgotten how to. The council session ended in chaos, but through it all the human delegation sat calmly, waiting to see what would happen next. General Vexthor did not withdraw. Pride would not allow it. The Kralix Empire had never retreated, never surrendered, never shown weakness. To back down now would bring shame to his entire species. Besides, he told himself, the humans were bluffing. Their warnings were empty threats meant to scare him. They had no real military. They were soft diplomats playing at being warriors. 1 week after the council meeting, the Kralix fleet moved forward. 10,000 warships advanced toward the nearest human colony world. It was a small planet called New Sedona, home to about 5 million humans. It had no orbital defenses, no military presence, no weapons platforms. It was the perfect target. The Kralix fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system. Vexthor stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the scanner displays. The planet appeared on screen, peaceful and undefended. No resistance, his tactical officer reported. No ships in orbit. No energy signatures indicating weapons. The colony is defenseless. Move the fleet into attack formation, Vexthor ordered. Prepare to demand their surrender. But then something appeared on the scanners. A single ship, emerging from behind the planet's moon. It was old, almost ancient in design. Its hull bore scars and marks from countless repairs. Across its side, faded letters spelled out a name, HSS Indomitable. One ship, Vexthor's second-in-command observed, an old one by the looks of it. Hail them, Vexthor ordered. Tell them to stand down or be destroyed. The communication channel opened. An elderly human man appeared on screen. He wore casual clothes and was eating a sandwich. Behind him, the bridge of his ship looked more like a museum than a warship. Display cases lined the walls filled with old weapons and historical artifacts. Hello? The man said cheerfully, putting down his sandwich. My name is Captain Morris. I'm the curator of the HSS Indomitable, a museum ship dedicated to human naval history.
Can I help you?
You are in the presence of the Kralix Imperial Fleet, Vexthor announced. Stand down immediately or be destroyed, Captain Morris blinked. Oh, you're the ones attacking us. Right. I heard about that. Listen, I'm technically not a military vessel. I'm a museum. We just run combat simulations here for tourists. But I suppose if you're attacking the colony, I should probably do something about it. You have 5 seconds to power down your weapons, Vexthor said. 5, 4, 3. Weapons? Morris looked confused. Oh, these old things. They're just for demonstrations. But I suppose we could try them out. Hey crew, want to see if the old girl still works? What happened next would be analyzed by military historians for decades. The Indomitable moved. It did not move like an old museum ship. It moved like a predator, fast and precise. It accelerated to speeds that should have been impossible for a vessel that size. It twisted and turned through space in ways that violated every known principle of physics, and then it opened fire. The weapons were unlike anything the Kralix had ever seen. Energy beams that bent around obstacles, missiles that seemed to think for themselves, projectiles that appeared from nowhere. In the span of 30 seconds, 50 Kralix warships simply ceased to exist. Not destroyed. Not damaged. They were gone, vaporized so completely that not even debris remained. Evasive maneuvers, Vexthor screamed. All ships return fire. The fleet tried. Thousands of weapons fired at once. Energy beams, missiles, plasma torpedoes, kinetic rounds. All of it converged on the single human ship. None of it hit. The Indomitable danced through the barrage like it was choreographed. It spun and weaved, somehow always exactly where the weapons were not. And it never stopped firing. On the bridge, Captain Morris was laughing. This is amazing. The old targeting systems still work perfectly. Jenkins, did you see that shot? Right through their shield generators. Beautiful. His crew, mostly historians and tour guides, operated the ancient weapons with the casual expertise of people who had spent years studying them. Sir, we've disabled another 40 ships, someone reported. Should we stop? Let me check, Morris said. He opened a communication channel to the Kralix flagship. Hello again, General. Are you planning to continue attacking the colony? On his bridge, Vexthor stared at the tactical display in horror. 90 of his ships were gone or disabled. One ship had done this. One museum ship crewed by historians. Retreat, he whispered. What was that? Morris asked. I didn't quite hear you. Retreat, Vexthor screamed. All ships fall back immediately. The Kralix fleet broke formation and fled. Ships jumped to faster-than-light speeds in every direction, desperate to escape. The Indomitable did not pursue. Captain Morris leaned back in his chair. Well, that was exciting. Haven't had a live fire exercise in years. Jenkins, make a note. We need to recalibrate the port plasma cannons. They're firing 0.3 seconds slower than optimal. But Vexithor did not give up. He could not. The Kralix Empire had never been defeated in battle. This had to be a fluke, a lucky accident. One old ship could not represent humanity's true strength. He gathered his remaining forces. 9,000 ships. He called for reinforcements from other Kralix fleets. Another 5,000 ships answered his call. 14,000 warships in total. The largest fleet the Kralix had ever assembled, and they advanced deeper into human space, toward the defense perimeter itself. This time, they did not find a museum ship. They found the first human fleet. The human ships emerged from the darkness like ghosts. They were beautiful, elegant, designed with an aesthetic sense that spoke of artistry as much as function. They moved in perfect formation, each ship precisely positioned. There were only 200 of them. Vexthor allowed himself a moment of hope. 200 against 14,000. Even if these ships were as advanced as the museum ship, the numbers were on his side. Then the music started. Every Kralix ship picked it up on their communication channels. Classical human music, something old and dramatic, poured through the speakers. It had a name that Vexthor would later learn. The Ride of the Valkyries and the human fleet attacked. It was not a battle. It was a performance. The human ships moved in time with their music, weaving through the Kralix formation with impossible grace. They did not simply shoot. They danced. Kralix ships exploded in patterns timed to crescendos in the music. Human pilots performed maneuvers that served no tactical purpose except to look spectacular. They spun their ships unnecessarily. They flew in formation, spelling out words in their own language. They were showing off. One human pilot broadcast on an open channel. Did you see that barrel roll? I got 3 kills with 1 shot. Who wants to bet I can't do 4? Another voice replied, You're on. Loser buys drinks. They were treating it like a game, like a competition, like fun. In 20 minutes, the Kralix fleet was reduced to scattered, fleeing survivors. The humans had not lost a single ship. They had not even taken significant damage. Vexthor sat in his command chair, watching his fleet die around him. His ship was disabled but intact. The humans had deliberately left it functional, leaving him alive to witness the destruction. A communication channel opened. A young human woman appeared on screen. She wore a military uniform and was smiling. General Vexthor, she said, my name is Commander Sarah Chen, 1st Human Fleet. I believe you've met my grandmother, Ambassador Chen. She asked me to give you a message. Vexthor said nothing. What could he say? The message is this, the commander continued. You wanted to know if humans still know how to fight. The answer is yes. But more importantly, we've learned to enjoy it. For 2,000 years, we've practiced warfare as an art form, a sport, a celebration of skill and strategy. You wanted war, General? We're giving you what you asked for. She smiled wider. Thank you for waking us up. We've missed this. The channel closed, and in the darkness of space, surrounded by the wreckage of his fleet, General Vexthor finally understood what humanity truly was. The news of the battle spread across the galaxy within hours. Every species watched in shock as the recordings played on their news networks. A museum ship destroying 90 warships. 200 human vessels obliterating a fleet of 14,000. The numbers seemed impossible, but what terrified them most was not the human victory. It was how the humans had fought. They had played music. They had made jokes. They had competed with each other for the best kills. They had turned war into entertainment. The Galactic Council convened an emergency session. The human delegation did not attend. They were not in council space anymore. They had returned to the perimeter. General Vexthor was called to testify. He arrived in a simple transport ship, his uniform torn and dirty. His once proud bearing was gone. He looked like a man who had seen something that broke his understanding of reality. General, the Velen chairman said gently, please tell the council what happened. Vexthor stood in the center of the hall. His claws trembled. His voice was quiet when he spoke. I have been a soldier for 40 years, he began. I have fought in 53 wars. I have commanded fleets. I have conquered worlds. I thought I understood what war was, he paused. I was wrong. He looked around at the assembled species. Humans do not fight the way we fight. For us, war is serious. It is about survival, about honor, about proving our strength. For them, war is a hobby, a sport, a game they play for fun. A representative from the Zellian species raised a tentacle. Surely you exaggerate, General. No species treats war as entertainment. I wish I was exaggerating, Vexthor said. I watched them. They were laughing while they destroyed my fleet. They were competing to see who could kill more of my soldiers. They played music during the battle. Music! His voice rose. They treated the death of thousands like it was a performance. The council sat in uncomfortable silence. That is not even the worst part, Vexthor continued. The worst part is that they were holding back. I reviewed the battle recordings. They could have destroyed us instantly. They had weapons they did not use. Tactics they did not need. They let the battle last 20 minutes because they wanted to enjoy it. They wanted to make it interesting. He sat down heavily. Ambassador Chen was right, he said quietly. Humans did not stop fighting because they became weak. They stopped because they were bored. Because nothing we could offer them is challenging enough to be interesting. The chairman cleared his throat. General, what are your plans now? The Kralix Empire formally requests peace, Vexthor said. We surrender, unconditionally. But even as he said it, he knew it was not over. The war continued for 6 more days. Not because the Kralix wanted to fight. They tried to surrender. They broadcast their surrender on every channel. They sent diplomatic envoys. They begged for mercy. But the humans were not at the negotiating table. They were in space fighting. They did not fight with cruelty. They did not torture prisoners or destroy civilian targets. They followed all the rules of war that humanity had written 2,000 years ago. But they did fight, because they were having fun. Human pilots broadcast their battles live on entertainment networks. Viewers back in the perimeter watched and cheered. Betting pools were organized. People took vacation days from work to watch the fights. One human pilot became famous for boarding Kralix ships instead of destroying them. She would dock her fighter, climb aboard with nothing but a plasma pistol and a combat knife, and clear entire ships by herself. She did it because, as she explained in an interview, ship combat is getting too easy. I wanted a challenge. Another pilot gained notoriety for painting kill marks on his ship in the shape of flowers. When asked why, he said, because war should be beautiful. The Kralix stopped fighting back. They could not win. Every engagement ended the same way. Human victory, Kralix defeat, minimal human casualties. It was not a war. It was an exhibition. Finally, on the 6th day, the human fleet simply stopped. The fighting ended as abruptly as it had begun. No announcement was made. The ships simply powered down their weapons and went home. The next day, Ambassador Chen returned to the Galactic Council. She walked into the hall wearing the same simple suit, carrying the same datapad, looking exactly as she had before the war. Behind her, the other human delegates followed, calm and composed. The council was packed. Every species had sent representatives. They all wanted to see what humanity would say. Chen walked to the center of the hall. She looked tired but not unhappy. Members of the council, she began. The war is over. Human forces have withdrawn to the perimeter. The accord is reinstated. We are once again limiting our military presence to defensive operations only. The chairman spoke. Ambassador Chen, we have received the casualty reports. 8,247 Kralix soldiers dead. 0 human casualties. How is that possible? We were very careful, Chen said simply. We disabled enemy ships whenever possible. We used non-lethal weapons where we could. We evacuated enemy crew before destroying vessels. We tried very hard not to kill anyone. But you did kill thousands, another representative said. Yes, Chen admitted. Her smile faded. That is the tragedy of war. Even when you are trying to be gentle, people die. That is why we avoid war when we can. She looked at Vexthor, who sat in the Kralix section. General, the human government has authorized me to offer full reparations to the Kralix Empire. We will pay to rebuild every ship we destroyed. We will provide medical care for every wounded soldier. We will help you recover and become strong again. Vexthor stared at her. Why? Because you gave us something we have not had in 2,000 years, Chen said. You reminded us what we are. You woke us up. For that we are grateful. This war was never about punishing you, General. It was about defending ourselves. Now that the defense is complete, we want to help you rebuild. She turned to address the entire council. I want everyone here to understand something very clearly. The human fleet that fought the Kralix was the first fleet. We have 19 more fleets just like it. The forces you saw represent less than 5% of humanity's total military capability. The ships, the weapons, the soldiers you witnessed are our defensive forces. They are the ones we keep ready in case someone attacks us. She paused to let that sink in. The remaining 95% of our military capacity is in storage. Millions of ships in orbital docks. Billions of soldiers in cryogenic sleep. Weapons we hope to never use. We keep them in reserve because we never want to be helpless. But we also never want to use them. The hall was completely silent. This is our final warning to the galaxy, Chen said. Humanity chooses peace. We choose cooperation. We choose diplomacy. But we are not pacifists. We will defend ourselves if threatened, and we are very, very good at defense. She looked around at the frightened faces. Please, she said softly, do not make us fight again. We do not want to hurt anyone. We want to be your friends, your partners, your neighbors. We want to help you grow and prosper. But if you force us to choose between our safety and your aggression, we will choose our safety every time. Ambassador Chen returned to her seat. The council session ended, and across the galaxy, every species understood a truth they had forgotten. Humanity had not been tamed. They had simply been resting. 6 months passed. The galaxy settled into an uneasy peace. The Kralix Empire accepted human aid and began rebuilding. General Vexthor retired from military service and took a position as a military historian, studying human warfare. The Galactic Council continued its work, but everything had changed. When humans spoke, everyone listened. When humans suggested solutions, everyone agreed. Not because they were forced to, but because they understood the alternative. Trade routes that had been disputed for centuries were settled in days. Border conflicts that had simmered for decades were resolved in hours. The mere possibility that humanity might get involved was enough to make every species choose peace. Ambassador Chen sat in her office on Concordia Prime, reviewing reports. Her assistant, a young man named David, brought her a cup of tea. The Kralix Empire just sent their final payment for the destroyed ships, David said, with interest. They paid back every credit we spent on reparations. Chen smiled. That's good. Vexthor is a proud man. He would not accept charity forever. There's something else, David continued. General Vexthor has requested a meeting with you. A personal meeting off the record. Does he want to challenge me to a duel? Chen joked. Some species believe honor must be satisfied through combat. He says he wants to ask you a question, David said. He says it's important. Chen met Vexthor in a quiet garden on the station. The Kralix general looked different than he had during the war. His scales were duller, his posture less aggressive. He looked thoughtful. Ambassador, he greeted her formally. General, she replied. Please sit. They sat on a bench overlooking an artificial lake. For a moment, neither spoke. I have spent 6 months studying your species, Vexthor said finally, reading your history, watching recordings of your wars, trying to understand what you are. And what have you learned? Chen asked. That I was wrong about everything, Vexthor said. I thought you were weak because you chose peace. I thought you had forgotten how to fight. I thought 2,000 years of diplomacy had made you soft. He turned to look at her. But peace did not make you weak, he continued. Peace made you terrifying. Because you did not stop practicing war. You just stopped using it. For 2,000 years, you have been getting better at something you choose not to do. You have been perfecting a skill you hope to never need. Chen nodded slowly. That is true. My question is simple, Vexthor said. Why continue training for war if you do not want war? Why maintain such terrible power if you refuse to use it? Why not destroy your weapons and truly become a peaceful species? Chen was quiet for a long moment, watching the water. There is an old human saying, she said finally. If you want peace, prepare for war. But I do not think that saying is quite right. The truth is more complicated. She turned to face him. Humanity learned something during our early years of expansion. We learned that power without restraint leads to loneliness. We conquered half the galaxy and found ourselves alone. No equals, no challenges, no friends. Just conquered peoples who feared us or hated us. So you stopped, Vexthor said. We stopped, Chen agreed. But we did not forget. We realized that true peace is not the absence of power. True peace is the choice to restrain power. If we had destroyed our weapons, disbanded our military, and made ourselves helpless, that would not be peace. That would be surrender. That would be giving up our ability to choose. She smiled. By maintaining our strength while choosing not to use it, we remain free to make that choice every day. We can be peaceful because we are strong enough that no one can force us to be otherwise. Does that make sense? Vexthor was silent for a long time. The Kralix people have always believed that strength must be demonstrated, he said slowly. That power must be used or it means nothing. You are teaching me that this is not true, that the greatest strength is the strength to choose peace even when you could choose war. Exactly, Chen said. I have one more question, Vexthor said. Ask. Your people treated our war like entertainment, like a game. They laughed while fighting. They played music. They competed for kills. Why? Why treat death so lightly? Chen's smile faded. That is a difficult question, she said. The truth is that humans have a complicated relationship with violence. We are very good at it, perhaps too good. When you are that skilled at something, it becomes easy to forget the cost. She sighed. The humans who fought in that war were professionals. They have trained their entire lives for combat. To them, fighting is a skill to be perfected like music or art. They celebrate excellence. They appreciate technique. They find joy in doing something they are very good at. But that does not mean they do not understand the cost, she continued. Every human soldier who fought in that war attended memorial services for your dead. Every pilot who celebrated a victory also mourned the lives lost. The music and the laughter are how they cope with doing something terrible, how they maintain their sanity while being very good at killing. Vexthor nodded slowly. I think I understand. They sat in silence for a while longer. Ambassador, Vexthor said finally, the Kralix Empire would like to propose something. With your permission, we would like to establish a joint military training program with humanity. Not to prepare for war, but to learn what you know, to understand how you balance strength with restraint. Chen raised an eyebrow. You want us to teach you how to fight? No, Vexthor said. We want you to teach us how not to fight, how to be strong enough that we do not need to prove our strength, how to be peaceful without being helpless. Chen smiled. I think that can be arranged. 3 months later, the first Kralix soldiers arrived at human training facilities. They expected harsh conditions, brutal instructors, and difficult training. Instead, they found humans who treated warfare like a sport, who competed in simulated battles for fun, who discussed tactics over dinner and analyzed famous battles like art critics discussing paintings. The Kralix learned. Slowly, they began to understand. War was not something to be feared or glorified. It was a skill, a tool, something to be mastered but used only when necessary. Other species took notice. Soon the training program expanded. Delegations from a dozen worlds requested to participate. They all wanted to learn the human way, how to be strong enough that peace was a choice, not a necessity. Years passed. The Galactic Council grew stronger, conflicts decreased, trade flourished. And through it all, humanity maintained the accord, limiting their presence, helping others grow, choosing restraint. Ambassador Chen eventually retired. On her last day, General Vexthor attended her farewell ceremony. You changed the galaxy, he told her. Not through conquest, but through patience. Not through war, but through the choice of peace. Chen smiled. We did not change anything, General. We simply reminded everyone what was always true, that the strongest warrior is the one who never has to fight. That the greatest victory is the battle you win without fighting. That peace is not weakness. It is the hardest thing of all. She looked out at the assembled representatives from dozens of species. The 2,000-year peace was never really broken, she said. It was tested. And it held. Not because we were weak, but because we were strong enough to choose mercy over vengeance, restraint over revenge, peace over pride. Vexthor bowed deeply. The Kralix gesture of ultimate respect. Thank you, he said, for teaching us to laugh. Chen laughed then, warm and genuine. The same laugh that had echoed through the council chambers when Vexthor had first declared war. You are welcome, my friend, she said. You are very welcome. And across the galaxy, in training facilities and war games and simulation centers, humans continued to practice the art of war. Not because they wanted to use it, but because they had learned the most important lesson of all, the best weapon is the one you never have to draw. The strongest warrior is the one who wins without fighting. And the longest peace is built not on weakness, but on the conscious choice to be kind when you could be cruel, to be gentle when you could be violent, to laugh when others expect you to rage. That is the human way. That has always been the human way.